Let's just rip off the bandage. Yes, I am here today to talk about periods and not punctuation, okay? But before you go squirming in your seats and worrying about how uncomfortable this is gonna be, and it's gonna have some moments, I just ask that you please stick with me because I promise to keep it fun. We know that roughly 50% of the population will experience a menstrual cycle. But did you know that 800 million women in the world are menstruating right now? Like, right now. There's that discomfort. But y'all, culturally, we have been through something like this before. Think about it. We can't watch a football game without being inundated with commercials about erectile dysfunction. Bear in mind, this is a condition that affects only 320 million men worldwide, not even all at the same time, yet it has become a common part of watching sports. And when we really get down to it, erectile dysfunction and periods have some common ground. They're both really just about blood flow. I'm Jen Bunn, a former college athlete turned professor of exercise physiology, and I've been studying female athletes for a decade. But what I'm talking about today really applies to any active woman. Since physiological research began, women have either been considered as small men or left out completely, resulting in some pretty big blind spots in our understanding of female physiology and performance. Many women also don't understand how their own bodies work, so how can we expect men to know what's going on? Essentially, if a young girl isn't paying attention in the 5th grade when they teach about your changing body, she is left with a lot of questions and very few answers. The menstrual cycle, its symptoms, and how these interact with exercise and performance is an area that still challenges us. Let me show you what I mean. Let's just start with one woman who's a college athlete. Let's call her Sally and see what she experiences. First, these are the 4 main hormones that control the menstrual cycle, which can be broken into 4 phases. Now, I don't know about you guys, this looks like a pretty solid roller coaster if you ask me. Like any good roller coaster, things start off nice and flat. This first phase is menses and is when bleeding actually occurs. It typically lasts 3 to 7 days, and all 4 hormones are low during this time. Sally and many women are likely to experience various symptoms in this phase, like cramps, nausea, bloating, and headaches. Phase 2 is marked by an increase in estrogen over a few days. In this phase, Sally may feel more energetic and stronger. This is kind of like the Beyonce phase of the menstrual cycle. Now, just after estrogen peaks, there's an increase in 2 more hormones signaling ovulation, which can bring on another round of cramping. Now, with this, I'm taking some liberties in the roller coaster metaphor because in a roller coaster, after a big climb comes a big downhill. But in the menstrual cycle, we see the drop-off of estrogen paired with an increase in 2 more hormones. In a roller coaster, riders just experience one hill at a time. But in the menstrual cycle, Sally gets to experience all of this simultaneously. Moving into phase 3, there's a large increase in progesterone followed by a moderate increase in estrogen. In this phase, Sally's body temperature may go up and she could burn more calories. This could leave Sally feeling pretty tired if she doesn't eat regularly or enough. Things start to wrap up here in phase 4 as all 4 hormones level out in preparation for a new cycle and another round of menses. In this phase, 80% of women experience symptoms like difficulty sleeping, mood swings, skin breakouts, breast tenderness, and fatigue. Now, in a roller coaster, now would be the time that the train just heads back to the station and picks up a new set of passengers. But in the menstrual cycle, there's no new passenger. It's just Sally going for another ride. a ride she gets to take every month for roughly 30 to 40 years, only to be interrupted by pregnancy and menopause. Ideally, this cycle looks the same month in and month out and is predictable. Sally should have the same experience roughly every 28 days, give or take a week. However, this is not often the case, as hormones of the menstrual cycle can be affected by many factors like nutrition and stress, common issues for many athletes. This can pose challenges for Sally and her teammates whose cycles may become more erratic and less predictable. For an active woman, consistent training can be problematic if she doesn't understand what her body is going through and how to work with it. Now, the research is a bit all over the place, but some evidence suggests that aerobic fitness and muscular strength, endurance, and power can be affected by these hormonal fluctuations. Many women also experience various symptoms throughout the cycle and think these negatively affect their performance. It is simply too early in the research to know if there are any true differences by phase. We need to take a more individualized approach to help female athletes understand their cycle and its potential impact on performance. Shifting gears for a minute, imagine now that you're Sally's coach, and it's your job to help her and her teammates perform their best. Let's meet the team. Each color represents a different phase of the cycle. How do you manage these athletes to optimize their training, performance, health, and wellness? Thanks to Title IX, women have been competing in sport for over 50 years. However, the truth is, we have little knowledge on how to work with female athletes to optimize their performance based on these individual phases. You may think these challenges just work themselves out as women start to understand their body. But remember, we have labeled menstruation as icky, and it creates discomfort for people to talk about. As a result, many women just don't understand what's happening with each new roller coaster ride. Actually, a good portion of girls and young women leave competitive sport largely due to the menstrual cycle. It may be due to fear of leaks, poor accessibility to period products, discomfort from cramps or other physical symptoms, or simply the fear of having to wear white shorts. I mean, can't we just get rid of these already? As a coach, though, you still have to prep your team for the big game. Where do you even start? Given what we've just learned about the roller coaster ride, I think the first thing we need is an environment where women and girls can talk about their cycles without having to worry about the icky factor. Once women can talk about their cycles, they can then begin to track it to understand its effects on their bodies. Now, tracking can be done through various fancy apps or simply on good old pencil and paper. As a coach, all you need is to equip Sally to begin tracking her cycle on the first day of her period and logging her feelings and symptoms each day. This helps Sally get used to riding her own personal version of the roller coaster. You can then teach her to look for patterns in her cycle to identify days where she typically feels her best and days where she feels her worst. Now, these feelings and symptoms are likely to have some effect on Sally's day-to-day training. By tracking individual cycles, coaches and athletes can then make training tweaks to enhance performance and recovery. In the meantime, there's good news for competitive athletes. While we can't control when we compete, early evidence shows that regardless of where Sally is in her cycle, her in-game performance doesn't seem to be affected. Y'all, the ladies come to play. Now, this tracking method works really well for women who experience a regular cycle, but that's only half the team. About 50% of collegiate and professional athletes take a hormonal contraceptive. For these women, the hormonal contraceptive turns the roller coaster ride into something more of a highway overpass, where there's a steady stream of hormones coming from the medication rather than the hormonal changes that occur naturally. As you can see, women have a lot of choices for hormonal contraceptives, which is great, but it does make it that much harder to understand how these medications affect athletes differently. If we want women and girls to thrive, whether on the field, in the gym, on the stage, or finally getting that pull-up, we need to understand what their bodies are going through. I've talked about this through the lens of sport, but it really applies to any active woman. Not just for Sally, but perhaps for those 800 million women menstruating right now. The goal is understanding what 50% of the population is going through. When we understand what happens inside the body, we can train smarter, feel better, and stop being embarrassed about something that really is just blood flow. Thank you for riding the roller coaster with me.